Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the Smart Way webinar series for nonprofit professionals. I'm Ellen Bristol, President of Bristol Strategy Group and your host. Our focus is on how to manage your fundraising effort so that you can achieve greater mission impact. And this series is based on our innovative methodology, Fundraising the Smart Way, an approach to fundraising productivity. And in this session, we're going to focus on metrics and why I love them so much. Yes, it's awful. I am a geek. All our Smart Way webinars are short. We try to keep them under half an hour, and we concentrate each one on a management practice or two to help you work smarter, not harder. Before we start, just a little housekeeping. Everyone is muted, but you're more than welcome to ask questions. We have a Q&A button, which you can find if you hover your cursor to the bottom of your Zoom screen. You'll see a little icon that says Q&A, and just type a question and we'll either answer it or get back to you. And my panelist, Ahmad, is also on the line in case anything goes haywire. So let's talk about metrics. When I was a kid in high school, which of course you can tell was quite a while back, we had to take a course called World History. It never seemed much like world history to me because all we ever studied was European wars of the 17th and 18th century and 18th and 19th centuries. And I found it utterly confusing, because there was always so much detail about the number of horses and the number of cannons and all the fussing around and who did what to whom and when and why and all that foolishness and military maneuvers. And I found the whole thing not only confusing, but regrettably boring. So as you can imagine, I did not get a very good grade in world history. But there was something about the Napoleon situation I kept coming back to. And I couldn't figure it out. I probably got this out of a novel, not out of a history book, but there was one thing I read. Napoleon and his key guys are standing on a hill over here, and they're looking out on a hill over there. Remember, in those days, they used to plan where they'd have their battles. And I learned a really powerful lesson after I put it all together. If you want to be strategic, you have to know the what. And here's the important what that I learned from Napoleon Bonaparte. Our strategic thinking, our goal, is what we will achieve assuming everything goes right. Our operational tasks are the how we know we're getting it right. Or, in many cases, we're getting it wrong. It seems pretty straightforward, but the fact is, the hows can really mess up the whats. And in practice, we all know we start worrying about the hows long before we start thinking about the whats. Oh, another housekeeping thing. If my image is in your way, you can just put your cursor on it and move it around your Zoom screen. So what we find is, my personal experience as a fundraiser, and in everybody else's experience, we get totally wound up around the hows. We have a tendency to put how before what. So it's like you get your new job, welcome aboard, here's where you sit. Oh, we hired you to be a major gift officer, but we really need you to develop a stewardship scheme, and the golf tournament's coming up in 3 days, and our Facebook followers, it's too small, and you need to be asking for more gifts, and you need to make triple your annual income by Friday. You get the whole thing. It's all what, how, and you lose sight of what you're trying to do. I personally find it very, very difficult to work that way. I don't know about the rest of you, but I do know an awful lot of my friends who raise money for a living for charity can come slogging home at the end of the week and say, I really don't know what I accomplished this week, but I'm really exhausted. So now we get down to why Ellen loves metrics. Metrics are the what that comes before the how. Believe me, there are plenty of ways to go wrong with metrics, but if you do it right, and I'm going to share some specific examples with you in this presentation, you can replace the chaos and confusion of all those hows with the clarity and accountability of a few what's. This approach simplifies what is a very complex and complicated business function, which is raising enough income to fund the achievement of your mission, and God forbid, pay your staff competitive wages. So I want to start by reviewing some very high-level metrics that, to our surprise, are not managed very well based on our own original research from the Leaky Bucket Assessment. For example, do we really know, and do we tell our staff and our board and our fundraising team how much income is enough to meet all our responsibilities? And we can break that down. And in this instance, I vote for not worrying about how much income has to be restricted or unrestricted or planned giving or grant-based or any of that stuff. It's just how much money do we need in order to achieve our mission or get as far toward achieving our mission as we can this year. That is a number. Within that number, we have to calculate how much overhead we're going to require this year. We all know about the controversies regarding the overhead myth, but we also have to recognize some years we're going to have to invest more in the business. Maybe this is the year we have to hire additional staff. Maybe this is the year where we need to replace out-of-date technology or add new technology. We need to know how much we're going to be able to set aside in cash reserves, the famous rainy day fund. We really need to understand and make a decision about how much is going to be set aside for payroll and benefits, professional development and the like, which is part of overhead, to maintain a happy, functional workplace. So we start with these key performance indicators. These indicators are not the job of the fundraising department, are they? They're the job of senior leadership, maybe including the board. They're part of the job of creating a strategic plan and budgeting for it. But if we understand, let's just take our first metric, how much income is enough, then the development teams know what they're striving to achieve. So we start with these very broad metrics, and we make sure the fundraising team knows that's what we're looking to achieve. Because now that team has the context, the structure, the what. Raise this much money so we can do these things. And each answer is a single number. We need $1 million. We need 20% of that for overhead. We need 5% of it for cash reserves. We need 7% of it for payroll, benefits, professional development. I'm spitballing numbers here. But once we have those specific numbers. We can do something really wonderful. We can track our progress against that number. We can say if we want to have 100 and we're currently at 40, we have that much to make up. So this may seem surprising, but it's really pretty straightforward. Excuse me, we have a question. Oh, Janelle, I'm sorry. Is anybody else having trouble hearing me? Let me try this without my headset. And if you'll chat. Oh, okay, good. I'm going to leave it. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. Where were we? Okay. Now, you get the big idea about metrics. If you have these simple high-level measurements in place, you can track your progress against them. And that is a very good thing indeed. Now, let's move on to my favorite area of metrics, which in my opinion gets absolutely no respect. You're going to, well, let me rephrase this. I found this set of insights to be transformational in my career back in the day when I was selling multi-million-dollar computer systems for a living. And when I started to get involved in the nonprofit sector, I was really quite shocked about the lack of a tool called pipeline management. This is my favorite area for the application of metrics. A pipeline is the pipeline is a more or less universal concept in sales organizations. Sometimes it's referred to as a sales funnel, but more likely it's referred to as a pipeline. And what it is, in essence, is simply a checklist of all open opportunities to win a sale or acquire a gift. Whether, and in a way, it doesn't matter if it's a gift, a grant, or a corporate sponsorship, and it doesn't matter if it's a recurring gift or a brand new gift from a new donor. Everything goes into your pipeline. And the pipeline, as I said, it's a list, and the stages sort of locate the opportunity at a certain point along the arc of cultivation. So we artificially divide our pipeline into stages. Are we at stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Some organizations make lots of stages, some make few. Many of you on this call may be familiar with the notion of moves management, which is a somewhat primitive approach to pipeline management. It does its job, but there are reasons why we have been able to go beyond that. The thing I like about pipeline stages is that you can use them as extremely powerful what measures. What do we need to achieve in order to reach our ultimate objective? So let me share a little bit with you about the way we decided to design the Smart Way pipeline model. Moves management and most nonprofit and for-profit CRMs divide up their opportunity stages by describing the behavior of the solicitor, the gift officer, the sales representative, whoever you want to call it. They say, did you, then make a call? Did you take the donor to lunch? Did you bring them on a facility tour? Did you show them the video of the kid recovering from the operation? Did you accompany them to the ball game? So it's all, Ellen, what did you do? Ellen, what did you do? I found that very confusing. And I said, you know, I might behave one way with this prospective donor, but a very different way with that prospective donor. The route I might follow to obtain a corporate sponsorship might be very different from the route that I would follow to obtain a planned gift. I know those two don't live in the same neighborhood, but you get the idea. But what is constant? Well, what tends to be constant is the prospect's behavior. So we redesigned our opportunity stages to reflect the donors or the prospective donor, and I'm using the term donor generically here, to reflect the funder's behavior. And as you can see, our model really only tracks 8 moves. And we call them donor moves because they describe the behavior of the donor. So let me simplify this for you. In move 1, we're asking ourselves, did our prospect tell us enough about their giving motivations for us to decide if they were a good fit for us? By the way, this presupposes you've already designed an ideal donor profile. In move 2, we want to find out, did the prospect ask us enough questions about the way we perform our programs and services and achieve our mission for them to decide if we are right for them? In move 3, we want to determine if they're willing to consider a gift. Have they said to us they'd be willing to consider a gift? If they have, we can then usher them to move 4, where we sit down with them and they review our proposal, discuss it, negotiate the terms and the scope. And move 5, did they say yes? Did they make the investment? So what we're really considering here is just moves 1 through 5. Moves 6, 7, and 8 are stewardship moves. And what makes life even simpler here is once you've acquired a donor and you've determined their reasons for giving in move 1 and the value that they see in your nonprofit in move 2, by the time you go back for a repeat gift, you get to start over again at move 3, so you've only got 3 moves to achieve. It's really simple when you do it this way. And what makes it even cooler is that you can assign metrics to each of these milestones. Let's talk about this for a moment. Because one of the things that I find to be very troubling for many nonprofit fundraising organizations is whether or not there's enough capacity in your current donor base for you to achieve your financial objectives. And it's sometimes tough to know. You can have all sorts of access to great prospect research like the donor search application or iWave, Wealth Engine, Target Analytics, name your favorite or name multiple favorites. But the fact is, there's another set of information you have to have, which is how many opportunities does it take to win one gift of a particular amount? I'm showing you all a spreadsheet here that's deliberately simplified. We made it up because I suck at arithmetic, so even I can do the math here. Let's pretend we want to raise $1.2 million in a 12-month period where our ideal gift size is $100,000. 100 times 12 equals 1.2 million. I figured it out. So that would mean we'd want 12 gifts at $100,000 each to reach our 1.2 million. So that would translate into getting 12 achievements or occurrences of move number 5 in the course of a year, or 1 a month. Wouldn't that be great? Now moving backwards, how many prospects do we need to get to move 4, where they're ready to negotiate the terms and the scope of our gift recommendation or proposal? For the sake of argument, and to make this brainlessly simple, we said the so-called conversion ratio should be 1.5 to 1. We should be able to convert 1.5 times fewer to get 1. So that would mean we'd have to get 18 occurrences of move number 4, which would be 1 or 2 in a given month. Using the same mathematical logic, if we want to get a 1.5 to 1 ratio of people from move 3 to move 4, we'd need to have 27 occurrences of move 3, or about 2 a month. 3 months, you'd want 3. And to get the right proportion of people from move 2 to move 3, again, 1.5 to 1, we'd need about 41, which is 3 or 4 a month. Notice that we figure it's the same number of occurrences of moves 1 and 2, because after a little practice, most people get deft enough to achieve move 1 and 2 in the same encounter. We teach you some questioning skills that make it really easy to gain rapport and ask deep probing questions very early in the game. This particular model is a core component of fundraising the smart way. And we really like it because it gives you the what. Once you start tracking your progress against these very unemotional numbers, they're not good, they're not bad, they're just insights. We said we wanted to do 12, we did 97. Well, maybe we needed 97. We said we wanted to do 12, we got 8, but we got more money than we wanted. We're going to learn. Now, if you were to engage us for fundraising the smart way, this tool would be made available to you, but you'd start to experiment with it. And you remember we talked about capacity. Very few nonprofits are seeking 12 six-figure gifts in the course of a year. Most of you are looking for gifts of $1,000, $2,500, or $5,000. How it takes $25,000 gifts, or does it take 200 to raise $1 million? It takes $1,200,000 gifts to raise $1.2 million. So you really need to be able to think about your capacity in terms of people, time, and energy to do what you need to do. This is one of the reasons that being able to calculate this stuff ahead of time can encourage you to change your financial objectives, justify the hiring of new staff or contractors, or develop a better and more committed team of volunteer fundraisers. The point is that the use of metrics like these that describe your pipeline create significant, powerful what's structure that lets you know whether or not you're making progress, how much progress you're making, and how quickly you're making it. And the way you can capture the data allows you to analyze and interpret and make improvements with a lot more assurance than when somebody on the board has a freak out and says, quick, throw another fundraising event. And we all scurry around like lunatics. Now let's talk about one of the consequences of setting up performance metrics. This is one of the immediate consequences. Freak out! OMG! I'm gonna miss my targets. I just know we're gonna miss our targets and everybody's gonna yell at us and we're going to be miserable. So, this is a really important point. We have to remember this phrase, which I did not make up myself. Somebody said this to me. When you can count up your results the way we just described, results are just results. They are neither good nor bad. If any of you has ever done any long distance running or you work out at a gym, you know, after your workout, you'll often like take your pulse and see how fast it takes you to return to your resting rate. It's a result. It's neither good or bad. It just tells you something. So capturing the data gives you a chance to read the story the numbers are telling you. And we as contributors and our supervisors, senior leadership, and governing board must learn not to punish us with the numbers, but rather to use the numbers as a form of diagnosis. Maybe we undershot our targets because we set them too high. Maybe we overshot our targets not because we're such geniuses, but we set them too low. Maybe there are other contributing factors. The critical thing with this approach is we have the information, and in many cases, it's information we've never had before. So we can use information. There are a lot of very sophisticated ways to use such information and change things based on our interpretation of the data. Oops, that went in the wrong direction. We're just about ready to close for it right now, but I want to invite you all to learn more about fundraising the smart way by visiting our website, bristolstrategygroup.com, by clicking on Fundraising the Smart Way. You can buy the book that I wrote on Fundraising the Smart Way. It's available in Kindle and hard copy form from Amazon. We have a Smart Practices resource library that's free, and you can schedule a call with me on my calendar at any time. Now, when we're done with this in just a moment, everybody who registered and attended will be getting a follow-up email with a copy of the PDF with live links so you can access these different functions. And you'll also get a link to the recorded webinar on YouTube. And please be sure and tell your friends. Thanks, everybody. And if you have a question, feel free to email me or ask it here. Take care.